YouTube? It's your boy Random Reese. We back at it again. Today we want to talk about teams who could not win the Super Bowl this year. Now, these teams will surprise you because you're like, huh? They got a nice squad, they got a nice quarterback, they got wide receivers, running backs, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. So these teams, I got my list of teams that won't win the Super Bowl. I wish I could put some money on it. Like I said, I like to gamble a little bit, like to dabble, but usually you cannot bet on who can't win the Super Bowl. They always get the odds of who can win the Super Bowl. You can take the field, you can bet certain teams, but there's not really a bet we could place where they say this team won't win the Super Bowl. Because if there was, I would definitely bet on them. First off, I'm going to say New Orleans Saints. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. The Atlanta Falcons, they won't win the Super Bowl. They got a lot of talent, but they're not winning the Super Bowl. Houston Texans. I mean, Deshaun Watson coming back from a full year after the injury, ready to go. They got Hopkins. They got a nice squad. J.J. Watt, they won't win the Super Bowl. Who else won't win? The Raiders, they won't win the Super Bowl. And they just re-signed Antonio Brown, John Gruden back for his second year, but they won't win the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay Buccaneers won't win a Super Bowl. You know, who else? We got the Rams, we got the Vikings. These teams will not win a Super Bowl. Why? Because of their wide receivers. You don't win with number one wide receivers anymore. Now, a lot of people think that, oh, you need a wide receiver to win. It's not a running backs game anymore. It's more of a passing league. You need a top wide receiver. True, it's not a true running game anymore. Quarterbacks do pass the ball. Teams pass the ball a lot more than they used to. But if you look at the last 20 years, like most teams don't win with diva or number one wide receivers. They win with a committee of wide receivers. Look at the Patriots. The best years they had, I mean, the years they won Super Bowl, all 6 years they won Super Bowl, they won with a committee of wide receivers. You know, they don't win with the superstar wide receiver. Like they had Brady Moss at 1 year, they won 18-0, lost the Super Bowl. They had a chance to win. They were right there, but they didn't win it. A couple years ago, they had the reverse happen too. They came back and beat a team with a top wide receiver in the Atlanta Falcons. They had Julio Jones, but they didn't win it. I'm not sure why, but part of the reason why is that when you got the number one wide receiver, you have a tendency to just throw to that receivers much more. But when you have a committee of wide receivers, you have a lot of B, C receivers. That means you spread the ball out a lot more. There's no body that you just want to keep throwing the ball to and make them happy. When you don't have that pressure on you to keep throwing the ball to that one wide receiver, then the offense is more fluid. You can run more plays. You don't have to worry about who's going to get the ball, whether this receiver is going to be mad at me. So that's my reason thinking. Also, when you don't have that wide receiver tying up so much money, you can take that money and spread it around and have a more complete team. Same thing with the running backs. Like most teams don't win with one star running back anymore. They win with a multitude of running backs, 2 or 3 running backs. One running back for this situation, one running back for goal line, running back for passing downs, one running back that can do both sometimes, or sometimes you will have 2 running backs that could do multiple things in the backfield, so you could throw the defense off and do more stuff. So if you look at, like I said, look at the past. Look at the past couple championships. The Patriots, where is their star wide receiver? Julian Edelman. No. Damon Amendola, no. None of these guys have been star wide receivers. Look at the Eagles. They had Alshon Jeffries. They had Mike Wallace, but they didn't have no stuff. They didn't have no star wide receiver. Alshon Jeffrey had his moments when he was a star, but when he played for the Eagles, he wasn't a top 10 tier receiver anymore. He had come down a couple notches. The last team to really have maybe a top 7 or 8 wide receiver was the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning. But if you remember that year, Demaryius Thomas' stats was pretty much half his stats that he had the year before. He only had 6 touchdowns and 70-something receptions and a thousand few yards. But and then Peyton Manning wasn't the same Peyton Manning. That was pretty much a run-based team with a nice, solid defense. And Peyton Manning pretty much played ball control type of quarterback. You know, he wasn't that same Peyton Manning that we known, that gunslinger who was known to throw the ball a lot. Who else? So if you think, I'm trying to think. In the last few years, the Patriots, the Seahawks, they had a committee. They had a committee wide receiver team when they won it. Although they won with Marshawn Lynch. And who else we got here? Patriots, Eagles, Denver. I think the last team to really win with the star wide receiver was the Colts when they had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Like that's probably the best duo to win a wide receiver. I mean, the best wide receiver duo to win a Super Bowl in a long time. Going back before that was the Rams in '99 when they had Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt. So then right before that, '96 with '96, '95 when you had Dallas and 49ers win it with Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice. But pretty much in the last 20 years, there hasn't been no superstar wide receiver win a team. So I'm counting out all of those teams. St. Louis, they just paid a lot of money to Brandon Cooks, which I think he's being overpaid. He's getting $16 million a year. I don't think he's a $16 million a year wide receiver. And then with that money comes more responsibilities or more wants. Like who knows if he becomes that diva that's going to want the ball a lot more and put that pressure on Jared Goff. Julian Julio Jones, I never heard of the diva problems, but he's still that number one wide receiver who's going to draw a lot of attention and wants lots of receptions and have his numbers up there. Antonio Brown is a straight headache. I don't think he will ever win a Super Bowl as a number one wide receiver, number one team. He he's not up there. Now people want to say, what about Tyreek Hill? He's a number one wide receiver. He is a number one wide receiver, but this is his last year of his current contract. He's still on his rookie deal. So I think a lot of times when they're on that rookie deal, they still kind of hungry and they still trying to prove themselves. I think he gets a new contract next year, but I still got I still got Kansas City in my mix to win the Super Bowl. But some teams I'm counting out straight from the rip. Like I said, the Vikings, Houston Texans. I'm counting these teams out right now. They will not win a Super Bowl. Book it. This your boy Random Reese. Hit the subscribe, hit the like button. That's this little hot take for the day. Peace.